Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel T-Spot. In this video, when we first met Louis, he persuaded Franklin to switch from dealing marijuana to the Coca-Cola industry. By emphasizing that dealing cocaine only resulted in problems, Louis persuaded Jerome to assist his nephew with his impulsive choices. Louis expanded the business while Franklin was locked up. She was the one who decided to split up and establish her own empire. When the story of Snowfall comes to an end, Louis' ambition and persistent yearning for fulfillment sent all of the characters over the edge. It's time to leave the nation and go to Jamaica to get away from the chaos. When Jerome abruptly ends the game due to an existential crisis, he tells Louis. After Diane informs Jerome that he is a dying species, he realizes that his time on the streets is running out and that there is a limit to it. When he returns home with this drunken statement, ready to put an end to the constant fighting with his family, he admits that the only reason he has been in the game for so long is for Louis. Before jokingly asking if her love for him would be enough to convince her to change, he first appeals to a reason by pointing out how pointless this way of life is. It isn't. Louis isn't sure if she should give up because she is so committed to achieving her goal that giving up right now doesn't seem like an option. After Durham has settled down the following day and Louis has had time to think about what her husband wants, they sit down to talk about where they are in their decision-making process. We discover Louis's true motives and the internal conflict that has influenced her judgment for the first time. Being a black woman is hard, and working in the drug trade is even harder. She asserts that Jerome is the one whom people revere despite only being able to whine or lick their lips in one particular direction, despite carrying the bulk of the organization's workload and acting as its brain. Even before they became drug lords, Louis had to fight for her man's and the public's respect. In the early seasons, he didn't see her as equal to him even after breaking up with James. Despite sitting on the summit, she is aware that her gender continues to restrict her. In response to Jerome's question, Louis says that her self-worth is worth living or dying for. Sadly, I think Louis will always remember this experience. As their conversation with Jerome comes to a halt, Louis asks for more time to negotiate with Teddy and gain access to their money in Panama. While Louis helps her make up her mind, Jerome agrees to do one more drop with Teddy. However, she makes it clear that he will still be leaving. Everyone is beginning to make plans for their safety and the future as the effects of the recent events continue. Teddy, still reeling from his father's death, is compelled to become a father for the first time and informs his ex-girlfriend that Franklin may be next to target them. The deficiency of his dad and the information that the KGB and DEA are after him make him become increasingly more intellectually unmoored. Therefore, in what appears to be an act of both self-preservation and desperateness, he launches a play in the style of a Hail Mary. Teddy makes his way to Ruben's apartment in an effort to offer the KGB agent a way out before the situation gets out of hand. In a strangely emotional exchange, Teddy claims that Ruben has made him feel less alone. Even though it's just a projection, Teddy naturally sees himself in Ruben because I'm sure the existence of a spy or CIA agent is isolating and lonely. However, it is not enough to stop Teddy from being violent. First, he says that theoretically, he doesn't have a plan, so maybe they can negotiate and figure out a way to walk away safely without destroying each other. However, Teddy's egotistical side will naturally interpret this as Ruben deceiving his superiors and fleeing with his lover while Teddy continues to carry out his duties. The happy ending that he had himself suggested is then weaponized by threatening Ruben if he does not cooperate. If Ruben stays in the apartment for the next 24 hours, he says he'll assume he needs his help. However, if Ruben leaves, everything could change. After executing his plan to eliminate the KGB from the picture, Teddy tells Parisa that the next step is to kill Franklin. Franklin, on the other hand, never lets up. Franklin meets with those nearest to him to decide how to continue in the wake of killing his old dad and really pronouncing battle on Teddy. Leon steps in to watch over Sissy and protect her after she decides to reject living and go into hiding once more because she is sick of everything. In exchange for the money and passports that Franklin needs to help him and his family escape, Franklin asks Gustavo to help him find Teddy and promises to kill Teddy. When Louis goes to the stables to relax with her horse, Kane's men eventually catch her while everyone is trying to figure out what to do next. They kidnap her and hold her as a hostage so that Kane can terrorize the person who put him in the hospital. It rapidly turns black. In essence, all of Lewis's discrimination as a black woman is made worse by the suffering Kane causes her to endure in order to locate Teddy. While there is the normal savagery in Snowfall, things rapidly change, making it hard to observe. He repeatedly kicks her in the stomach in an effort to get her to give up Teddy before branding her as a piece of livestock, as Franklin, whom Kane called, observes. Kane plans a group rape of Lewis as if the brandings weren't enough to bring to mind the most horrific forms of discrimination against black women. He treats Lewis differently than a male equivalent when he tortures him. Even though the branding resembled practices used on black women during the antebellum era, the planned sexual assault sent things spiraling out of control. It is unfortunate that a black woman, who had just eloquently discussed feeling invisible, was the victim of the violence because Snowfall has never been as graphic. I wonder if the brandings on their own would have been sufficient to constitute a violation, let alone at this level. I don't think people needed to see her almost get gang raped, even though it happens in real life. Lewis ought to get better. Franklin watched his aunt being tortured calmly because he had a plan to warn Aaron without coming across as suspicious. Jaron, Leon, Scully, and Franklin reunite as friends to rescue her before anything worse could happen to Lewis. By pressing Lewis against his chest and aiming a gun at Aaron's head, Kane forces her to move. Because Jerome has an unfathomable amount of affection for his wife, Lewis is able to avoid being struck. Jerome appears to be fine at first, but it soon becomes apparent that he is not, and he eventually gives up and falls to the ground. They both come to terms with the seriousness of their loss as Lewis weeps over her deceased spouse and Franklin yells in shock. "We will grieve for him at you, Jerome." Sincerely, I do not hold Cassandra liable for trying to separate Franklin and Veronica. She acknowledged to Teddy's father that she had learned a few things about parenting since her disagreement with her daughter. After witnessing Franklin's out-of-control violence, she offers to get Veronica and her unborn child out of there. However, Veronica decides to support her partner. Veronica, on the other hand, decided to stay because Franklin had more trust in her and had even provided her with the correct drop-off location. Leon has assumed the role of neighborhood leader and peacemaker since his return from Africa. With a more mature outlook, he is taking action to make life better for everyone. Leon answers Franklin's call while Franklin is having his hair cornrowed in a cleverly planned scene. To symbolize the revolutionary within him and the gangster he has become, he stands in front of the mirror with his hair split in half. While he follows Franklin's instructions, the side with the cornrows holds the phone to his ear. The side with the afro faces the mirror, revealing his true nature and beckoning him back to violence. It's amazing. The brief affair between Teddy and Paris annoys me. Since he abandoned an entire child, I find it offensive that he claims she was his only source of happiness. Because he has always made decisions motivated by the desire to impress others. Whether it was his dad, his boss, or Paris, I want him to just step up on his own. The expression, lives have been lost and their family will never be the same, only becomes more true as Concrete Jungle draws to a close. If Lewis's desire for greater respect and recognition was what initially kept him there, you can certainly believe that pain, guilt, and retaliation will keep her in the game. Since there are only 4 episodes left in the season, we will find out how things turn out before Lewis is truly happy and content. Let us know what you think in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. Thank you for watching. See you soon.